Hey everybody, welcome to Judging 101. My name is Dominic Matas, and today I'll be talking to you about how to judge different dance styles fairly against one another. First off, a little bit about me. I've been choreographing show choirs for about 11 years now. Worked with a multitude of groups in that time around the country. Most notably, I'm currently the head choreographer at John Burroughs High School and their group Powerhouse. I've been doing that job for about 2 to 3 years now. I'm very grateful for that. In addition to that, I work with about 20 groups a year, from Utah to Wisconsin to Massachusetts, and also a number of groups here in Southern California. I've been a student of dance for about 16 years now. I started dance in middle school when my friend dared me to join show choir, essentially called me scared, and I had to prove him wrong, and the rest is kind of history. From there, I went to John Burroughs High School. That's where I graduated. I did show choir there. I graduated in 2011. And from there, I went on to study dance at the local community college near my city, where I studied ballet and jazz and modern, where I was more properly introduced to the classical styles of dance. In addition to that, I was a member of a couple of dance teams here in Southern California. Most notably, Academy of Villains was a team I was on. They regularly were regarded as one of the most innovative and creative groups on the circuit. Was very proud to be a part of that group when I was there. Since then, I continue to try to expand my horizons as far as dance. I try to take class when I can. Obviously, that's always very difficult for traveling choreographers. With what time am I going to get into class is always the question. And I also just learn a lot from studying my peers in the community as well. Learning from lots of different teachers as I'm traveling around, and being able to work sometimes hand in hand with a lot of choreographers really helps me grow my craft as well. For the task at hand, all right, so we're here to talk about how to fairly judge dance styles against one another. Kind of a broad topic at first glance, that's for sure, but first let's discuss what makes different styles of dance work well in show choir in general, and how exactly do they differ. I mentioned before the classical styles of dance, ballet, jazz, modern. I also like to throw in tap as well. They are widely regarded as the foundation for technique in dance, and for good reason. The focus on form, line, and posture in these styles is what influences the baseline for how we judge things in our field generally. Tall posture, fully extended arms where applicable, feet positioning, they all come from the building blocks of these classical styles. More recently, yes, we've seen hip-hop play a larger role in our field, which I, as a hip-hop dancer, am especially grateful for, and the variances of movement that come with it. Before I talk on hip-hop and show choir, let's first talk about technique in hip-hop. Yes, it does exist. It does exist. There are specific and codified ways of doing things in certain hip-hop styles that differentiate not only the genre itself from everything else, but also from the inherent styles from each other. For example, the difference between an up rock, which comes from locking, and jacks, which come from house, hits, which come from popping, and which is the umbrella style for things like tutting and waving, things like that. The difference from those between top rocks and footwork, which come from breaking. All of these styles are distinct, and I'm here to tell you that it's important to at least know the general idea that hip-hop is not based in ballet. That's one thing that I really want to stress when you are going out to judge, is to not judge hip-hop moves as you would judge more balletic classical moves. In knowing that you can be better informed as to how to accurately judge a hip-hop style versus a classical style. Hip-hop dance, as used in show choir, is a great tool to differentiate movement in a show and to be able to more accurately portray certain music during a set. I've always found that using songs that are popular nowadays with movement based in the classical styles exclusively feels like they're missing something, right? If you're doing a song from the top 40 that you hear on the radio now, and if you're doing it as it's written, as you hear it on the radio, and the movement itself, you've all been there. You've seen dances that maybe don't fit with the music. Like I was saying, much of the popular music that's happening now, or even in many modern musical theater shows, many Broadway shows nowadays, are very heavily influenced by hip hop and hip hop culture. which is why it's important to be able to judge how a style of dance best fits the music that's accompanying it. Again, it's really all about hearing a piece of music when a group starts a song, kind of getting the general idea of what they're doing, and then being able to maybe give some constructive criticism if you're on a tape or writing it, or being able to accurately score it. One thing I'm definitely grateful for is that a lot more scoring sheets have the stylistic authenticity or stylistic appropriateness in both the music and visual side of the scoring sheet, which I think is a very, very big step in the right direction as far as being able to differentiate a lot of these styles as we would with different repertoire in the songs that we're singing. Now, obviously, as judges coming in for a single day to watch anywhere from 20, 30, sometimes 40 groups in a matter of 15 to 18 hours, if it's not running late, we can all be expected to be experts in all types of dance or music for that matter. That, of course, is the beauty of what we do and of our world, in that the differences in multitude of expertises is what makes a great panel. I would, however, advocate for newer judges and even ones that have been in the game for a while to continue to broaden their horizons with dance like they would with expanding their musical abilities as choir directors to better themselves and make themselves more well-rounded and to be able to judge more competently. No one likes to be the judge that feels like they're unqualified to judge a certain part of the sheet because they feel like they're unqualified or just wholly inexperienced in that field. As a judge myself, I like to try to keep an open mind when I'm on a panel. Obviously, we're all bound to lean towards our biases, but those biases are what drew us into the field in the first place, right? We saw something, or we saw a group, or we saw a director or a choreographer doing their job and wanting to do that thing. And so we sort of attach ourselves to sort of those foundational, those imprints in our brain of why we do this now. With that being said, though, I try to see the merits in all styles that a group is performing, and in the comments that I make, I try to pull from all the different training that I've had in my career to be able to give constructive and concise feedback to groups. Especially if I'm doing critiques, I try to see what they're doing and try to give them, obviously, the best comments that I can. And also being able to admit when you don't know as well as maybe someone else. I'm definitely one that will defer to someone that might be an expert in something and try to learn from them. So that way, if I, learn a little bit from that person, I can then go to the next panel or next competition or even my next choreography job and have that little bit of information that's going to influence that next piece of work. That is going to then make that group better. It makes me better as a dance educator and as an educator overall. Going back to the task at hand, as much as I would love watching a group perform a full dance break doing exclusively footwork on the ground, on the floor, spinning on their head, I'm also excited to watch a group that is good at the classical styles. If a group can pull off, or even a select group of kids can pull off, really clean double pirouettes or cabrioles, or, if they can tap with the best of them in time and it's rhythmic and it's exciting, that all, even separately, is impressive. And being able to at least know the basics of certain styles. Like for me, I've never tapped in my life, but I know how hard that it is to get to a certain point to be even basely proficient to do some of the choreography that I've seen groups do with the tap style. Anyway, all that to say, to try to not keep this episode too long, to wrap up the episode, I want to quickly talk about vocals and how they influence the way that I judge groups. Now, I don't have a music degree, but I have had the privilege of working alongside and among many, many wonderful, experienced directors in my career, and I've learned from them a multitude of things about vocals and show choir, so much so that I've been able to actually get my hand in conducting, as well as giving certain vocal, very, very basic vocal comments to groups even that I work with, or ones that I don't work with even too. But most importantly, as we all know, the music comes first. One of my favorite analogies is show choir. In this analogy is a 9-letter word. Choir is 5 of those letters, so mathematically it's more important. It's one thing I like to say for groups if they're having trouble deciding, and you see in their faces deciding what is more important, the dance or the choreography or the vocals, and it's always the vocals. Personally, I'm always considering the vocals when I'm judging the group, no matter what style they're performing. I've definitely given comments to groups in the past about doing movement that's maybe super ambitious and super intricate, but that it's affecting the vocals negatively. And with the way that our scoring sheets, for the most part, if not across the board, are weighted, most of the time 70-30, with music being the more weighted category, it's definitely something that I keep in mind when I'm judging even just the visual side of a scoring sheet. Even with my own groups, I'm a stickler for making sure that their singing comes through, even with the intense movement that I give them. And I'm not afraid to edit my material to make sure the vocals stay intact and that they are producing their best and most beautiful sound. With all that, that's where I'm going to end today's episode. I definitely have appreciated anyone that's taken the time to listen to this or to watch this. I have lots more to say on the subject, so hopefully I'll be making another one of these at some point. I hope you've learned a little something by watching this video. If you have, awesome. I hope that I can learn from some of the other people as well in this series. Once again, my name is Dominic Matas. You can find me on Facebook under the same name, or at Domadeus on Instagram, Domadeus. And that's my time. Thanks again for watching, and have a wonderful day.